Are you allowed to listen to your wife? Parashat Korach brings an interesting inyan. You know, we start the Torah, we open the Torah, and we read the story of Adam HaRishon and Hava, and we see someone who listens to his wife. He eats from the tree. Subsequently, he's thrown out of Gan Eden. He's forced to work. And so listening to his wife didn't do him too much good. And for 130 years, Adam HaRishon leaves his wife once he's thrown out of Gan Eden. And for many years, he doesn't bond with her. So the question is, can you listen to your wife? It's a good question, no? Let's take a look. B'midrash Tanchuma Yashan, Siman Vav, Ita vayikach Korach, lakach talito v'halach lito letzam minishto. He wore his talit and he took an advice from his wife. And the Midrash in Mishleh, in Perek Yud Aleph Dash Kaf Zayin, it says, Amar Rabbi Levi, Shnei Asherim Gedulim Hayu Ba'olam, Echad B'Yisrael v'Echad Be'omot HaOlam, Korach B'Yisrael v'Haman Be'omot HaOlam. There are two very rich people that acquired a tremendous amount of wealth, Korach and Haman. And what's interesting about those two is that both of them listened to their wives and they both failed tremendously financially. So we have now another Gemara now, Baba Metziah, that's 59. Whoever is going to follow in the advice of his wife will fall to Gehinam, Shneimad, like it's brought down in Melachim, Aleph 21-25, Rak. Lo haya ke'achav asher hitmaked la'asot hara be'nei Hashem asher hista oto izevel ishto. It brings down a pasuk from Achav, the king, who was a very successful king, but a rasha, nonetheless, a wicked king, who followed his wife Izevel's advice, and it ended up to his downfall. Before we continue, we look at the statement from Rav and you say, oh wow, what Rav is saying, whoever follows on the advice of his wife falls in Gehinam. You might think that maybe Rav was, maybe anti-women's rights, but that's actually completely the opposite. Because if there's another Gemara that says that Rav would always tell his Talmidim, and those in Chuzah, Okiru neshaychu kehechi titataru. He told them, you should always respect and love and value and make your wives yakar in your eyes. And by doing so, you will become wealthy and financially successful. So we see from here that when it came to respect and appreciation, Rav was always encouraging his Talmidim. So here he's saying something else, not to follow in her advice. What does that mean? Amar le Rav Papa le Abaye, v'ha'amre inche itetach gutza gechin metilchosh la. So now you have another Gemara, Rav Papa and Abaye, that says that itetach gutza, that if your wife is short or small, gutza gechin metilchosh la. So what you should do is bend and bend down to listen to her. Doesn't necessarily mean that she's shorter than you. What it means is that if she's not as great as you in any capacity, whatever it is, financial, strength, knowledge, whatever it is, bend down, lower yourself to listen to your wife and take her advice. La kasha. So these seem to be arguing with each other. So it says no. Ha b'mileh de alma, ha b'mileh de beta. So he says it's talking about two different types of discussions. One is mileh, words of alma, and one's mileh de beta. One talking about worldly things, one talking about home things. Let's take a look. Lishna acharina, ha b'mileh dishmaya, v'ha b'mileh de alma. So there's a different version written in the Gemara that says that when it comes to things that have to do with mitzvot, Torah, things of Shamayim, that you don't listen to her. When it comes to things that are worldly, about the house, day-to-day things that have to do with the family, that are outside the religion, that you listen to her. Ra'ayin b'sefer Chasidim, shekatav kol yireh Hashem, anyone that fears God, al yikach itza mishto b'devar mitzvah. Never take the advice of your wife when it comes to a mitzvah. V'pnei she'enei tzara v'afilu hi yirat shamayim. Because her eyes are going to be narrow, she's not going to have the same type of feeling that you have, even if she has a lot of yirat shamayim. But everything else, anything else in the world, outside of religion, listen to her. So, they mentioned this about the Arizal, that when it came to things of his house, he had zero participation in making decisions. He would let his wife do everything, which meant what type of couch they had, what kind of cups, plates, decisions around the house, how things have to go. A lot of times people, they want to act like the Arizal. They want to do Kabbalah like the Arizal, or follow in his footsteps. You want to follow in his footsteps? Take a basic advice. All things outside of the religion is in the advice of the lady, not in the advice of the man. He let her do everything. And I met one or two men, friends that I have, that they actually do that. It's unbelievable. They let their wife make, you go into their houses, completely wild designs that you've never seen them before. Their wives did the whole thing. Whatever. Sometimes it's hit or miss. לעומת זאת, מצאנו בכמה מקומות שאפילו צדיקים הלכו אחר עצת נשותיהם, ועלו והצליחו ועשו פרי. But we see a lot of times there were tzaddikim that went with their advice of their wives, and they were very successful, and they had a lot of fruits. Even when it came to religious things. What do you mean? The story of Abraham and Sarah in Bereshit 21:12. Anything Sarah says, listen to her. And it says with Amram in Shemot 2:1, וילך איש מבית לוי, ויקח את בת לוי. And if you look at the Rashi over there, it says, שהלך בזה אחר עצת ביתו מרים, that he went after the advice of his daughter Miriam, that he should go back together and get married with Yocheved, because he had divorced Yocheved during the Gezerah of Paro, of Kola ben Hayilod, Hayora Tashtichu, Kemoken, on ben Pelet, also, in the parasha of Korach, Shama le'atzat ishto, he listened to his wife, and because of this, he was saved from the machloket of Korach and Adato, like it says in Sanhedrin 109. And then also, it says in Mishle, Yud Pasuk Aleph, Chochmot Nashim Banta Beta, which is talking about On ben Pelet. And the reason why it says Nashim is because she came back in multiple Gilgulim, later as Michal and Slalponit. V'chen Manoach Avi Shimshon she'alach achar atzat ishto. Also, Manoach followed the advice of his wife. Slalponit kirechti vayekom vayelech Manoach achar ishto. And Rashi says achar atzata. He followed her advice, and it worked. Umatzinu gam Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah shenimlach beishto kasher bikshu limnoto lenasi. That when Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah wanted to become the president, and they gave him the position, he went to go ask his wife, and that's a religious decision. So we see from here that there actually many people took advice even from religious matters, and it was successful. So this book discussed this on Shar Ayin Chet. That a person who follows his wife's advice falls to Gehinam. That's talking with just a regular lady. But when you have a lady who she's intelligent, she has good intuition, she's smart, she has beracha, in those cases, then you could listen. It's not a problem. There we know many times that listening to the wife produce good results. Shuv matzati shekvar hidgish baze b'midrash devarim rabba yesh shomaya leishto mafsid veyesh shomaya leishto mishtaked. Ketzad adam harishon shema leishto ve'efsid veyesh shema leishto mishtaked ze Abraham. So you see some people, they listen to their wives and they lose. Sometimes they listen to their wives and they become rich. That's brotan in devarim rabba. And you see from Abraham that he was successful, while Adam, listening to his wife, was not. Mashma shesover hamidrash she'en hora'a berura be'inyan zeh. So we see from here that it's not so clear the advice of Rav and the Gemara of not listening to the person's wife's advice. She'lefamim lemedim me'adam she'en lishma b'kol ha'isha. שהכשילה את בעלה לאכול מעץ הדעת, ופעמים לומדים מאברהם שיש לשמוע בקול האישה, כמו ששמע בקול שרה ואשתו, מוטל על הבעל לשקול במאזני שכלו מתי לשמוע ומתי אין לשמוע. So a husband has to actually use a scale to determine whether or not he has to listen to her. Because we see from here that it actually, it's unconclusive. We see from here that many times the advice of the wives is very successful. So we see from here that a person has to look and determine every single time. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.